Today is a very special day, and that's because I get to introduce my new to me R33 Skyline GTR Autech version 40th anniversary edition. This is a special car, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. We're gonna go ahead and begin with the exterior of this very special car. This is one I've wanted for a long time. Once I got the Stasia, which is also an Autech version, I found out about these at the Zama Museum when I was in Japan. I saw one on display and it piqued my interest. At that point, with the Autech version 260 RS Stasia in my possession, I started to seek out one of these, and I had my friends at Top Rank scour the auctions over in Japan and find just the perfect example for me. If you aren't familiar with what Autech version is, so Autech is a tuning company similar to TRD or SVO or SVT from Ford. It's basically a company-owned tuning brand that's under the umbrella of Nissan. So you're probably familiar with Nismo. Nismo and Autech are now one combined company. So that should tell you kind of how they work together. Back in the 90s and even today, Nissan uses Autech to build their special model cars. And so this particular car, being the 40th anniversary of the Skyline, was actually VINed as an actual GTR, not a GTS. And it came with the full running gear out of an R33 GTR. That's right, RB26 DETT, all-wheel drive, a Tesla system, and Hikis all-wheel steering. This thing is an absolute weapon in sheep's clothing. So there are a few things on the outside that make this car very special and unique. So let's take a tour around the outside and I'll show you guys what those things are. So those of you that know your R chassis or a little bit about Skylines know that 1998 was actually the final year of the R33 chassis. Being a 40th anniversary of the original four-door Skyline that came out of the Prince factory, basically they made this car to commemorate that. And so we've got a four-door version, and what's really weird about this car is that it comes with the Series 3 headlights. Now these headlights are about, on the used market currently, about $7,000 a headlight if you had to buy one. That's more than some people's cars, which is insane. That right there is a weird thing because they put the late model headlights on the car, but they put the early Series 1 lip on the car. And so the reason being, after doing some research, was that they wanted this car to still feel a little mundane. They didn't want to give it the aggressive outward appearance of an actual coupe GTR. So they went with the smaller front lip. It does have the same GTR front bumper, front fenders, and aluminum hood. So basically from the front doors forward, it is essentially the same as a coupe GTR with the Series 3 headlights and the Series 1 front lip, which makes it a little bit unique. Now I do have a Series 3 lip for this car at home. I haven't put it on yet. And I will say, before we get too far into this video, I am going to be modding this car, but everything I do will be reversible. So if I ever do plan to sell this car in the future, those parts can be pulled off the shelf and put back on this car. Nothing will be irreversible. So moving further back on the car, we've got the wheel package. And so essentially this came with the same wheels that are on a R33 GTR coupe. And these are the split 5 spokes that you would find on that variant of car. We've got the same GT badging on the fender, and it also has the black Brembos that came on the coupes as well. I think those may be upgrades for a GTS car, but they were standard on the GTR version of this Autech. So moving back, we've got a side skirt that is actually reminiscent of the coupe side skirt. And a funny tidbit about this is the side skirt itself is actually exactly the same dimension and length as the coupe side skirt. So I had to actually pull up pictures side by side to actually understand how that's possible. But if you do it, you'll see how it's able to be done. And so I was actually able to order coupe side skirts for this car, and they fit on quite nicely. So very happy about that. Less work at the paint shop, which should tell you that I am going to be adding side skirts to this car. Moving further back, you can tell this is now a four-door car, but what makes this really, really cool and unique are these fenders here and these door caps. So essentially R33 sedans were typically narrow body. Now GTRs are always wide body cars. So that leaves Nissan or Autech with a conundrum of, do we widen the car or do we not widen the car? Well, they decided to widen the car. And so with this being only one of 416 units ever produced, they actually made fenders and door caps for these 416 cars, which is insane. So if you get a fender bender on the rear of one of these cars today, it's gonna be quite expensive because these are no longer available and they would have to be crafted by hand, or you have to find a donor car, which is gonna be few and far between. As you can see, the door starts getting wider about here. So that makes this whole panel a one-off panel for this car. And then And also this rear quarter panel section is also specifically made for the Autech version. Very cool, very neat, and it has a lot of presence when you see it on the street. It's really cool. Now moving around the back is one of the things that a lot of people don't like about these cars. But I actually kind of like the fact that there is no wing. No spoiler was added to the Autech versions. Along with the front lip, where they went with the smaller, less tall front lip, they went with a no wing on the rear to keep the car looking smooth and sleek and sedanish. And also a throwback to the original Skyline, which had very minimal aero. So this is really neat in that it's a blank slate. And one other thing I did forget to mention was on the back end here, these pieces back here are also made specifically for the GTR sedan. These wouldn't work on any of the other GTS sedans because the fender has been widened. So these pieces here too, if they get damaged, I'm in a whole lot of trouble because I'm gonna have a hard time finding a replacement. I guess I could always pull a mold off them and make my own, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. One of the other points of contention on the rear end of this car are the taillights. And so essentially these taillights are the same as what you'd find on a GTST. However, the previous owner of this car upgraded them to LEDs, LED turn signals, and reverse lights. And they also debadged the car in some fashion. They removed the Autech version badge, which I've put back on. But one of the things I love about this car is this little badge right here, little 40th anniversary badge. It lets people know that this is actually a special car. It's not just a regular GTS or a conversion. One of the really cool things that I found out when I had this car detailed was I was gonna replace all the badges. So I went ahead and bought a whole complement of R33 GTR coupe badges to replace the badges on this car. So I had all brand new ones, and this one I found is actually just a hair, like literally a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the actual standard coupe badge. So this is specific for the 40th anniversary car, which is mind-boggling to me that they would go through the trouble for 400 units to actually make a badge specifically for it. And this is the factory location for all of these badges on the car. This is how it would have come directly from Nissan. And so as you can see, this is not the stock exhaust. However, this car did come with the stock exhaust and it's in very good condition. And that's something I'll address later in this video, is the undercarriage of this car. Some very special things happened to it before I took possession of the car. And we'll get into detail, but I did spend some time under the car recently. I found this period correct Nismo exhaust system over in Japan. It actually came off of an Autech 40th anniversary, so that was comforting. And it's kind of a weird design. It's like super wide and rectangular shaped or oval shaped. But what I love is it has the correct Nismo logo on it with the round O versus the new version. So that would have been, you know, this would have been a new product when this car came out. To me, that's really cool. Not only does it look great, it makes this car sound a lot better and a lot more like a GTR. So in case you guys want to hear what that sounds like or what the car sounds like now with the Nismo exhaust, I'll go ahead and fire it up for you. So as you can hear, it's a pretty mild rumble, but it definitely is enough to know that this isn't a standard RB25 or RB20. This is actually RB26. I think it sounds just right. When you get on the throttle, you can definitely tell it's an RB26 turbo. I love the note of this exhaust. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. Now let me turn the car off. And let me show you guys the interior. This car is also unique in that the interior, being a late model car, should have a Series 3 interior. You Skyline gurus will know that the Series 3 interiors were red. This car is actually blue, like the early models. I don't know why they did that. Maybe I can ask some Nissan people in the future. And as you guys can see here, we've got the gray interior seats with the blue stitching. Look up here in the headrest, you can see the blue, and you can see the blue around the edges of the seat. Now that's an early model chair in a late model car. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't know why they did it. I intend to find out when I go back to Japan. I'd like to ask that question when I go see some Nissan folks. The idea for this car is to basically make it pretty close to OEM spec, like new, but I want to mod it in my ways that make it a very like more modern car and more usable. This is a car I plan to drive a lot on the streets, and so I want to make it feel like new to me. So as you can see, we've got the Nissan optional Momo steering wheel. This was a product that I searched for on auction. I actually found a brand new one in the box over in Japan, which is pretty crazy. 25 years later to find this piece. Somebody must have removed it from their car, stuffed it away in storage, and forgot about it for 25 years. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was able to buy it. Now, the nice thing about the R33s over the R32s is a lot more stuff is still available for these chassis. I was able to find these stocks directly from my Nissan dealer here locally, brand new. I swapped those out. One of the things I hate is all the touch points in cars, especially when they're 25 years old, they get worn out. I like to replace all that stuff straight away when I get a new used car because I want it to feel new. And so the writing was very dull and worn off on these stocks. Now look at them, they look like brand new because they are. And they function as brand new as well, which is cool. Moving further into this, I do love Nismo, and I love the bits from Nismo that were available for this car during that period. So I did opt to change out the gauge cluster to a Nismo cluster. As you can see here, lights up with LED lighting, and we also have the triple meter here, which has our front torque, our oil temp, and our boost all on the dash, which is really cool. And this is a GTR cosmetic, so all the GTRs, 32, 33, 34. 34 has the digital one, but they all have a gauge package on the dash, which is really cool. And I wanted to retain that, but I did want to go with the Nismo version, kind of give it a little bit of an upgrade over the stock. One thing I did recently, actually this past weekend, was I installed a double-din head unit. And now typically that's an issue in these cars because typically you have your gauges, you have your climate control, and then you have your radio. Din, din, din. So in order to do a double din, you have to move the climate control. Now my friends over at Garage Yoshida in Japan actually make this OEM replacement shift surround panel that houses the climate control system. Really cool setup. Basically, it moves this from where it would have been here under the gauges down to here where it's not in the way of anything and it's fully usable whenever you need to use it, but it allows you to run a modern head unit. And for me, that's important because I like to run Apple CarPlay. I like to see my maps up on the dash instead of holding my phone in my hand. This allows me to do that. Also, I can use Siri and everything for directions. So this is one thing I do to most of my older cars, just to modernize them and make it feel a lot more like a car that you would purchase today. I've also gone through and upgraded all of the plastic old Nissan leather boots, which from Nissan, they're like a pleather. So I went ahead and put real leather in here. One reason I like to use real leather in my cars is because it helps with the odors. So cars over the years, they pick up odors in the carpet, in the materials, the cloths. They tend to have an odor to them. When you do the leather stuff, it actually brings in a nice, clean, fresh leather smell and a nice odor to eliminate some of that stuff. Now you go as deep as scrubbing the carpets and the seats and everything, and you get all that out, and you've got a new smelling car, which is awesome. We went with a stock shift knob for now, OEM upgrade wheel. This car feels very new inside. We've replaced the old worn out leather handle for the e-brake with a Mines unit here, and I even added a cup holder because these cars didn't come with cup holders, which is really silly, but a lot of 90s Japanese cars, no cup holders. I guess they didn't want you drinking in the car. But the nice thing is Etsy, there's some people on there 3D printing cup holders. This goes in there, and I can put my Starbucks or whatever I want to take with me. Generally against drinking in the car, but sometimes I like to have a coffee or something. So I've got that. Very simple. Now there's one other really cool feature about the 40th anniversary car that didn't come on any of the other sedans, and that's in the back seat. So in the back seat, because this is meant to be a sports sedan, they actually rebuilt the rear seats. So they rebolstered this seat in the back, which normally would have housed potentially 3 people. Now it can only house 2. And that's because they made this big giant bolster in the center to keep the passengers separated to basically provide a more sports seating. And I think that's pretty cool and pretty unique to this specific car. They only made 416 of these, and so there's only 416 of these back seats ever made, which is really cool, very unique in my opinion. I just went to a Nissan event last weekend, and I had 4 people in the car cruising, and it felt so good to use this car for its you know, the 4-seater action that it is. Now a coupe is also a 4-seater, but I can guarantee it's not as comfortable as this one. That's about it for the interior. Let me run up front, I'll pop the hood, I'll show you guys the engine bay. Ooh, I love that sound. So if you've ever seen an R33 GTR, this is essentially exactly how it looks, just a 4-door version. So I've already started sort of modifying under here. When I got the car, it was 100% stock under here. It still pretty much is. I've added a few bits so far, but I do plan to build an engine for this car and go a little bit more in depth with the cleanup and replacement of a lot of stuff. Have not started it yet. I've really been trying to enjoy the car. A few things that we did do so far was a Nismo period correct strut bar with a brake master cylinder stopper over there. I've also reconditioned the valve covers to Cerakote to match the Protocraft coil pack cover. Underneath the coil pack cover, I have PRP's R35 coil pack setup conversion kit, basically, which gets rid of the igniter that you would typically have in the back. The Protocraft cover actually adds vents back here because heat in this area is a problem. And what this does is actually it's ventilated to let the heat out so you don't smoke your coils and just keep some of the temperature out of the valley of the engine. It's a really nice product, and I think it really looks great on this RB26 engine, which is a very sleek engine as it is. So anything you can do to kind of clean it up, I think really helps a lot aesthetically. I haven't gotten to the intake side of the engine yet. This is still a little funky, but I do have plans for that in the future as we get there. We've added some carbon stuff in here, the Protocraft there. We've got the Garage Defend cover here in the front. This is basically a cooling panel, full full carbon fiber. And then we also have the Built by Legends carbon fiber hood prop, which weighs nothing. It's insane. Still fairly simple, fairly basic, and has not begun to really be upgraded yet to the level that I want to upgrade it to. But I've been collecting parts for this thing, and we'll slowly start to trickle them onto the car. So if you guys don't follow my Instagram, that's where all that stuff's gonna happen. So definitely check that out. I will be updating it weekly with content from the R33. So this car actually is pretty old. It's 25 years old. One of the really nice things about it that when I was looking for this car and it came through the auction was on the auction sheet was noted that it had a chassis restoration or a chassis refreshment in 2019 at Nissan Prince, which is where Skylines originated, in Nissan Prince dealership. So this car actually went back there in 2019, put in their facility, and the whole undercarriage of this car was gone through. Every arm, every bushing, everything was replaced underneath. And literally, we put this car on our lift here at the shop when it came in, and we were appalled at how nice the bottom of this car is. I mean, it literally looks like a 5-year-old car, not a 25-year-old car underneath, and it handles just as well. It's very tight, very stiff, and feels great to drive. Not like a clapped out 25-year-old car. To me, that means a lot, and it's a lot of work savings on my side that I don't have to do. I can just get the car from the boys over at Top Rank, and I can take it on a road trip. Mechanically, it's sound. The suspension and everything has all been redone. To me, this is the ultimate car to have that I can just hop in and drive and have fun and have something unique. It's not a run-of-the-mill car that you're gonna see every 10th car on the freeway. Just something cool, and for those Skyline aficionados that see on the road and they see it, they geek out because it's such a unique example of a GTR. One last little fun fact about the 40th anniversary Autech version R33 GTR is that this is an ultra rare example of a Skyline. A lot of people obsess over the Midnight Purple 2 R34s being super limited. This car is just as limited as that. It's just not as well known. I think that's really cool. I think the fact that this is probably one of the only one of these in all of North America is pretty remarkable. I'm sure there's a few others. I haven't found them yet, but I'm sure I have some brethren out there that are looking to get some notoriety. So if you have one of these and you're in North America, or you're in Canada, please speak up in the comment section. Let me know where you are. I'd like to know. I'd like to follow you on Instagram and those sorts of things. And I guess that's it. I really don't have much more to say about the GTR. I'm excited to introduce it to you guys on the channel. We don't get the opportunity to do a lot of Skyline content here. I love Skylines. I love talking about Skylines. If you guys want to see more content on this particular car on our channel, definitely leave some comments down below. If there's enough demand, we might actually have some more upgrades to this car that we can do on the channel for you guys to watch along. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.